This edition of MacVoices is sponsored by Linode, high-performance cloud hosting for everyone. Visit linode.com/MacVoices and take $20 off your first server package. Welcome to MacVoices. This is the talk of the Apple community, and I'm Chuck Joyner. Folks, this is the second of our three-part discussion on Apple's WWDC keynote that was recorded on MacVoices Live with a super panel of all-stars. And I want to say right up front, I really like the way this ended up turning out. This is exactly what I want MacVoices Live to be. We had some of our panelists dropping in and out because of other time commitments. We had viewers and listeners coming in and out, again, because of their time commitments, people in chat. So this is what MacVoices Live is supposed to be like. And if you want to be part of it, Tuesdays, 8 p.m. Eastern on the MacVoices page on Facebook. I'm going to let us get right back, though, to the discussion of the WWDC keynote. Frederick, you're uncharacteristically quiet. Do you have any takes on this, or maybe we'll let you transition to the next topic? What do
you mean uncharacteristically? I'm always talking.
And you said you were quiet.
Yeah, I said you were quiet.
I'm trying to listen and absorb. This is this ARM talk is on the other side of the CPU that I usually play on. I'm usually using the power and complaining that Final Cut is rendering too slow. So,
all right, well then
I'm looking forward to seeing this though.
Let's jump over to your side of the processor. I like that. What did you see that appealed to you as a user in Mac OS, iPad OS, iOS, et cetera, et cetera?
You know, maybe my second most piece of Apple kit, aside from my phone, has been my AirPods. So I'm really interested to see the new sort of spatial audio feature they talked about and how that works, because the iPod or the AirPods have been sort of lifesavers in a lot of ways for concentration, and the noise canceling is magical for when we used to use those things called planes a while back. It's just fantastic for that. So now I want to see how are they able to squeeze spatial audio rendering into kind of a two-dimensional space, in my head.
What does it fix too? Like they showed how you could move your head, and in order to have that spatial rendering, the space that it was rendering had to stay still. Is that only in conjunction with a TV? Like it has to know where the device is? How does that work?
There's an API.
Oh, do tell.
That you can use it about your positioning and information coming from the AirPods that you can integrate. I was daring James Thompson to shake my dice by going like that.
So it knows, so it does the math, and it knows that you're holding an iPad in front of you and that you have AirPods approximately here and here. And based on that, it can figure out how to make a sound coming from over here.
Yeah.
Yes.
I haven't looked into it yet, but I'm so excited. Because you can do so many potentially cool things. I love data like that.
Nice.
So let me make sure I get that right. So if I'm looking at a movie straight on, obviously, it'll do that. But is there an option for me to be looking over here, and will the sound field shift with my head, or will it stay over here?
The sound field stays still so that it seems like it's actually around you, and you can move your head within that fixed field.
So it's immersive.
Also, doesn't that open up the door to head gestures instead of tap for Siri? Couldn't you just be shrug for Siri or next song?
So we'll see people walking around doing this.
Yeah.
We all do that now.
He's the one doing the shrugging.
Drop this call.
Yeah. And Chuck, they fixed another feature too that I didn't know I needed until they talked about fixing it, and that was the idea of having your AirPods intelligently know what device you want them to be connected to based on, I'm holding my iPhone or my iPad or I'm at the Mac or whatever, that they will just move instead of the 30 taps it takes to pair it or find the device and connect. That was brilliant.
Seamless automatic routing, just to be able to move from your iPhone or from your iPad to a phone call and then back to your iPad without having to tap a single thing, that's going to be huge.
I'm cautiously optimistic on
There's
that.
no way it's going to work for me.
Right there with you, John.
I'll break it.
Yeah.
Too many devices, right? Like, how is it going to know? I have 4 devices around me right now. How does it know that I want to be connected to this one? Or is it going to pop up and ask me? That would be nice. Just ask me, and I'll say, yeah, that one.
That'd be better.
The concept of whatever the most recent or active audio source is. So we'll see. I mean, you may be a great beta tester. You may break it, on day ones, Frederick.
Yeah. Hey, bring it. I like to break stuff.
I think this is a group that will break it very quickly.
Well,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
it should be asked. Has anybody here downloaded the betas and installed them yet?
I have iOS 14 running.
I have iOS 14 on an iPad Pro because I really wanted to start testing Scribble. And I installed Big Sur on an external SSD, which is really important because if you install Big Sur, even on a partition on your on the drive that's in your computer, you can no longer do updates on Catalina.
What?
If I have my external drive plugged in when I'm booted in Catalina, I get a warning dialog that pops up on my screen that says that that my SSD, my external SSD, my Big Sur SSD is using features or software or formatting. I can't remember exact the wording, where it's not compatible with my current operating system.
I saw that on your Instagram.
Yeah, that was all over Twitter today.
Yes.
I don't know if you found it or Josh Centers over at Tidbits, but a whole bunch of people have commented on that. But anyway, you're doing the right thing. Why on earth would you want to take your production machine? And this is Apple we're talking about. And Apple, you do many things right, but software is pretty rough patch. Of course you would want to put it on an external, SSD.
Or a DTK Mini.
Mm-hmm.
Or DTK
like
Mini.
a boss.
I'm just going to wait for that one.
Yeah. And, thank you, Mark, because that's something that I preach constantly. Please, these are betas. This group right here is the group that betas are intended for. Please don't download betas unless you just absolutely have a machine that you can play on. And if something goes horribly wrong, you won't mind. Because they're betas, folks. That's what they do, They cause trouble.
The iOS 14 beta.
That Marina does, and it's not with me at the moment, but I think I've identified that as a sacrificial lamb to download the Big Sur beta and experiment with, and not harm other Macs.
What were you saying, Jeff?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, Marina. I'll shut up. I'm not guiding anything.
Okay, iOS 14 beta. It's really nice. I really like it. And I'm excited for the final release this fall. But I also get that all the stuff that's working really janky right now, the stuff that just doesn't seem to work right at all, or it doesn't quite look right, I get it. This is developer beta 1. So I am not complaining about any of the stuff that I'm experiencing that's not working right.
Yeah, I'm not even allowed to mention that Twitter looks like on the Twitter looks horrible on the iOS 14 beta.
Yeah. Now
we know
Big
Chuck's
Sur,
doing later.
Yeah.
Sure.
Thanks for the edit.
My experience
There's
with Big
your
Sur
adult
is that
tag.
it's a skid.
Let's see, F-bomb start in 5 minutes.
Oh wait, we can do that on this show?
No.
Sure.
Now
sure.
we can.
I've been to Hershey. I've heard them talk that way. Sure.
Man.
I think Chuck has us all on a 7-second delay, so he can.
I wish I
Cut the
did.
broadcast
I'm on
at
a
any moment.
7-second delay.
I wish I did. Thomas Aaron, welcome. Nice to see you. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Chuck.
You're welcome to dive in here if you want, or you can just hide from this group. I would suggest hiding from this group myself. But.
I don't know. I know a couple of the guys in this group, and they'll just come find me if I try to hide. So
yeah, we will.
I was quick to hide there, Thomas. I had to.
So Big Sur is Mac OS 11, right? Like we're out of the age of X.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
It feels like a
macOS
skin
10S.
on Catalina.
10S. Well, because when I
Mac
got
OS
the profile, when I got the profile to upgrade, it said 10.16.
Yeah, and it had a Catalina picture too, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when you look at the about after it's installed, it's Mac OS 11.
See, I haven't gone to that part yet.
I think somebody just missed the P-list entry.
I think it was to avoid leaks.
Yeah, that's
If I
possible.
had to guess.
Again, track leaks.
Track them again.
Track
Or,
leaks.
somebody just forgot.
Or somebody changed their mind at the last
I
minute.
mean, it is Dev Beta 1.
If Mac OS is no longer Mac OS X, pronounced 10, does that mean things like Logic that have X in their name are going to upgrade too? This is a random and stupid question, but I'm curious.
How about a program called Panorama with an X?
What are you going to do?
Or default folder X.
It's kind of like when everything was named I something.
Hey, how did my
So let's cut to the
website
chase.
get on Frederick Van
Can't wait
Johnson?
to change his podcast.
It's what I do, Jim. Come on, it's what I do.
How about Max XI?
Oh, jeez. Jeff, you said you have the iOS 14 beta running, now I'm blanking on what they call. But how did the widgets or the things that you can put on your screen? Widgets, yeah, that's right. I had it
widgets
right.
are cool, but you have a lot more control over what you're doing with them on the iPhone compared to the iPad. Like right now, widgets for me are stuck in the Today view. So that column that you can make show up on the side, I can't pull anything out of there. Also, Apple's own widgets have specific places where they will sit. And while I can sometimes rearrange third-party widgets, I have to do those independently of where Apple's stuff is going to sit. And to me, that's just beta 1. But still, I mean, having that level of control where I can have like a block with 4 widgets in it, and then a couple wide widgets, and it's nice, and it's going to be very useful once the functionality is actually totally working.
So I'm curious because my initial reaction to it was that's great. And then I remembered that we're talking about an iPhone, and whether you're talking about the large iPhone or the small iPhone, I started to wonder about the use of space. And then they moved over to the iPad, and it's like, well, on the iPad, it looks terrific and it makes perfect sense.
Yeah, but on my iPhone 10, I probably never stick widgets in with my folders and icons. They just take up too much space. I would rather have a dashboard for that kind of thing. So the Today view is great with widgets, but I don't want to mix them in. I haven't found that useful at all, nor the app library really, but I'll get used to that.
Yeah. Well, if you're installing the operating system on a phone that you already have and you've had it for a while, you presumably have it somewhat organized. Which is not the intention. But, so this is something James Thompson has been talking about the last 2 days, and that's not only are these new widgets not interactive, they're also deprecating the interactivity of the sort of traditional widgets in Today view, both on iOS and on the Mac. And so right now, and actually this is maybe for the next few months, that's good for me because that's actually preventing me from installing 14 on my actual phone. I have it running on an old iPhone 7. But so for now, you can still pull up the old widgets in Today View, not on the home screen, but in the Today View on iOS, but you cannot on iOS 14, but you cannot on Mac OS 11. So James was complaining that, the pcalc widget on the Mac is no more. So yeah, so they're really, I think Chuck was saying, or maybe Jeff, they're really like a dashboard. And if that's what they are, I would much rather have them on the lock screen as opposed to on the home screen.
But then you have security issues.
I mean, if you have, if you can do it the same way you have with your messages and other notifications, right? So like you just have basically a notification or something that's saying, you have your calendar on the lock screen, and then you do the ID, and then it sort of unrolls and shows you the actual information. So that could be done the same way.
Chuck, where are you going that you're worried about people seeing your phone?
That's a secret agent.
Yeah, Brittany, that's a fair point. I guess it's just
I know for the future.
Well, but Apple's middle name is security, and so that would seem like an interesting. Well, close enough.
It's a hyphenated middle name.
Yeah. But so that's
both.
It. Just I think there's some widgets that like let's say a weather widget would have no problem being on the home screen, but maybe a FedEx widget where I'm having packages delivered, maybe I don't want somebody standing beside me or that might ask to see my phone or borrow my phone to be able to see what packages I'm having delivered. I don't know.
Do you ever let anyone borrow your phone?
Not for any length of time.
Oh, I would never do that. I will show people pictures on my phone and I will scroll it myself, but I will never hand my phone to someone else.
Yeah, it's
that
weird.
probably says more about my photo roll than anything else. But
that's what I was going for, Brett.
I suddenly want to look at photos with you, Brett.
Yeah.
I agree with you, Brett.
Yeah. You get anxiety if you hand your phone to someone and they're just
totally. I'm like, wait, no, give it back. It's
like someone fondling your soul. It's like, give me that back.
Okay, we need that on a t-shirt. Fondling your soul. Thank you,
Scratch my soul again.
That's my Queen cover
Apple's
band
new
name.
marketing campaign.
So how about that hand washing timer, Chuck?
How about that hand washing timer?
That's innovation.
Oh, geez.
Face masks and hand washing.
That's going to be in so many comedy routines. Is not even funny.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, with somebody on
SNL's
Twitter
waiting
pointing
for
out,
next year.
What else do people do with their hands?
How about being smart?
This edition of MacVoices is supported by Linode. You can build it on Linode. Linode has opened their newest data center in Mumbai, India. That one, along with others around the world, gives Linode the ability to put your server anywhere you want it, to accommodate any local regulatory needs that you might face. And that's just one more addition to all the great features you get with Linode. A dedicated CPU, distributed applications, native SSD storage, a 40 gigabit network, industry-leading processors, the ability to deploy many different servers in literally minutes with their one-click installs, and a new cloud manager. If you've built servers with other providers, then you know how important those things are. And if you haven't, well, there's no need for you to go through the pain some of us already have. Sign up with Linode at linode.com/MacVoices and get $20 off your first order. That's Linode, linode.com/MacVoices for $20 off your first server package. Go now, and your server will be up and running before you know it. One more time, linode.com/MacVoices to save $20 on your first order. Thanks to Linode for their support of MacVoices.
My electric toothbrush turns on and then it goes for 2 minutes and then it turns off. And I always brush my teeth for 2 minutes because I have a timer that just runs automatically and I get my 2 minutes of toothbrushing. And I honestly think that if my watch is working with me and it's automatic and I don't have to think about it, I will actually wash my hands for 20 seconds. I'll admit, I rarely do. Of course, I don't touch anyone else, so... I mean,
you know what, Brett? That's
no one
that's
I'm not
really,
quarantined with.
Sorry,
Al.
I don't know, Brett. How clean are your hands when you're administering medications to your cat?
Yeah.
The one you kept.
But we're all quarantined together, so not very clean. I'm just going to admit.
I'm calling
Brett,
it that.
The toothbrush is a really interesting comparison because I agree with you that, you know, that's a place that a lot of a shortcut. And once you get that electric toothbrush with that timer, you just like, all right, I just keep on going and say, oh, good, it's done. You know, so and you reduce the guilt is what it amounts to.
That's what podcasts and earphones or HomePods or, you know, everything else. It's all consistent.
Yeah.
I instantly wanted to get a watch for my 7-year-old nephew who cannot learn how to wash his hands.
That's an expensive lesson to teach, but sure.
Other reasons too.
And we have a note in the private chat room that somebody else in Brett's household medicates the cat. So the cat is safe.
The truth comes out.
But who medicates Brett?
Oh, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I take my own. I don't have to be clean for that.
Fair enough.
We hope that he comes to these things not medicated. He's more fun. So
question for Jeff. What about Scribble? How's that working? Or is that still beta quality junk? I mean, you know, is that still beta quality, you know, technical?
Scribble
Inner monologue,
works surprisingly
Inner monologue.
well. The problem with Scribble is that app interfaces that have small fields for filling information in, that's where the problem comes in, because you need to start writing in the field, and then you can go outside the field, but you need to start with the field so that it knows you're writing something into that field. And so what I found is that the web interface for Facebook messages really, really sucks for using Scribble, because that field is so narrow and it's stuck at the bottom of your screen. And I don't expect Facebook to fix that because Facebook. But every other place where I've been using it, it's been working well. And I intentionally started using it in applications that are not made by Apple just to see what would happen. And I was having flashbacks to my MessagePad 130. Now, doing the shapes, excuse me, like they showed in the keynote, no shapes happening for me at all. Like there's a little pop-up menu that floats at the bottom of the screen where you can choose, I'm using the Apple Pencil, I want to go back to the keyboard, I need to throw a return in here.
Beta.
You know, so it's got that, but the shapes just aren't working for me. And,
how did it do with your Mandarin, though?
Considering my English looks like Mandarin, surprisingly well.
Yeah, that's why I'm tempted to sacrifice one of the iPads. I want to see two things. On the surface, I want to see whether it can recognize me switching between English and Russian. But the bigger test is whether I can actually still handwrite Russian, because I haven't really had a reason to do that for 25 years. So I'm not sure I'm still capable.
Check the fine print on Scribble, because I think right now it's like 4 or 5 languages only.
So the Translate app does include Russian.
Okay, so maybe Russian is one of the
yeah. So maybe it is one of them. So that's why the reason I'm kind of very keen on that is I've had this pet peeve ever since they released the HomePod, and I've got one or possibly more. But it's sort of interesting because what I'm hoping is that if they can do it sort of on the fly, recognizing switching back and forth between 2 languages in writing, maybe eventually they'll be able to do this in speech. Because sort of my, most common use case is that I listen to a lot of Russian music, and I'd like to listen to it on my HomePod without having to control it from some other device. But of course, the system language for all of them is English. So I would be very much interested in being able to say, hey Siri, play some Машина времени, and have it figure out what I mean, which is, and it's not happening for me right now.
Marina, is that Russian for order me 1,000 rolls of toilet paper?
No,
he's doing it again.
No,
Let's try it.
There are no Alexas in this house.
Okay. Okay.
Other than my middle name, but other than that.
Mark keeps trying to troll our audience by asking Amazon's assistant to order 100 rolls of toilet paper, and I keep having to edit it out to make sure I don't get the emails.
See, this is one of the reasons why I always use in-ear monitors for shows.
Yeah,
there you go.
Smart man.
There you go.
Smart man.
Did you all see the feature in iOS 14 that allows you to tap the back of the iPhone to trigger actions?
Yes, I heard about it.
Yeah,
you can do 2 taps or 3 taps, and assign a different action to each of those.
Have you played with that, Jeff?
I love the idea of that, and there's no way. I constantly tap my phone as a fidget. I don't unlearn this.
It's bad enough that I take a snapshot every time I try to turn my phone off. Additional gestures are not the answer.
Yeah, it's not available on the iPad, and now that I've said that, I'm going to double check and make sure that's actually true. Let's see, accessibility. There it is, accessibility, and
wonder how it works.
Yeah, there's an option.
Microphone?
Yeah, it's an iPhone only thing. It's not a feature on the iPad.
I wonder how it knows that you tapped your phone.
Probably the accelerometer.
What's that under in
or the
settings?
Microphone or both. I guess.
I'm assuming
it's accessibility.
It's the accelerometer.
It's in accessibility.
Okay.
I wouldn't think a microphone, Jim, because if you're you could have all kind of taps if you're in let's say a nightclub with a lot of heavy bass and that it's vibrating the phone.
I know, but
it almost
kind
has
of amazing that.
Wait, 3D Touch is still? I thought they were getting rid of 3D Touch. It's still in the settings.
All of us still have phones that have it.
I thought that was just on the watch, which is another thing I wanted to ask about. But I thought they were giving up on the watch with that.
Yeah, they did.
Okay.
No Force Touch in WatchOS 7.
Right, but I didn't think that was the case of the iPhone, Brett.
Well, they started talking about dropping Force Touch I don't think the iPhone 11 has Force Touch, does it?
It doesn't.
No.
And I've never had it.
But the OS is still supporting it for older phones.
I don't know.
Okay.
So what was the reaction to the watch announcements, especially the watch faces? I really like that idea of having a bit more freedom to customize my watch face the way I want.
I never changed mine, Chuck. It's this, I found the one I want with the complications I want on it, and that's it.
I use the Siri watch face. The Siri one just adapts to everything I need it to. I'm more excited about the sleep tracking.
But maybe in 2040 we'll be able to make our own watch face.
Oh, we can do that.
2040.
I'll tell you what I think makes that a little bit different for me anyway, because I am just a crazy wild shortcuts person, is that in shortcuts you can have it change the watch face automatically in the background. So that's what might make me start using more than one watch face. Because I can make it do it all by itself.
Yeah.
So if you assign the taps to the back of the phone, Brittany, you can just tap and your watch face can just keep changing all the time.
You could do that. Yes. Let's not. But what I mean is I can tell my watch, hey, it's 8 p.m. It's time to start winding down for bed. Automatically change the watch face, like as a Siri in the automation section of shortcuts. That you can have that run natively on the watch. And it's morning, show me this one. It's Saturday, show me this one.
You have a watch face to tell you it's time to go to bed?
I could now. I was never going to manually change it.
You could set up a watch face that has minimal information on it.
Right.
For going to
or
bed,
that has
so
the
that
things
you're not
I
getting
want,
information overload.
or has the things I'm more likely. I don't necessarily need to see the temperature when I'm getting ready for bed, but I sure want to see that all day long.
I just put it in the theater mode when I'm sleeping.
Yeah, and now you can automate that and have it do it automatically. That's the stuff I get really excited about.
That was such a burden.
So does that have to do with the fact that shortcuts can be triggered at a certain time without needing a confirmation?
Yep.
Cool.
On the watch, which they have not done since Apple acquired them. Back when it was workflow. Yeah. So it's actually quite a few features that we sort of lost in that acquisition are coming back this year, and I'm sort of excited about that.
So what other features? I mean, there's so many that
I think nobody else cares, but it used to treat it like a document, like when you'd search in Spotlight to launch a shortcut, it used to be like right there, workflow, like right there up at the top. And I've had to like lately scroll down. It's like, this is what I want to launch from Spotlight. That's what I want to do. I want to treat it like it's Alfred. Please let me just do this. And now it's supposed to do that again. So I'm very excited.
Who's going to use the dancing thing in the exercise?
I know several people that are very excited about that.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of people.
They've been using just like generic workout when they've been doing their dance exercise classes.
I never thought of that. Yeah.
Is it gonna detect it automatically like it does walking and running?
As far as I know,
harder.
I think you have to pick it, I think.
Okay.
Sorry, Brett, go ahead.
Why did all of my shortcuts that ping a local server stop working?
Beta? I don't know.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's definitely because of iOS 14, but it says they're not valid URLs anymore, and they definitely are. This is bad news. My entire home automation system is at risk here.
Okay, please tell me the results of this. I'm very curious, but
we're gonna see the room around Brett catching on fire, so we'll know.
Oh no.
Right on cue. Right on cue.
I wanted to set it up so I could double tap the back of my phone and my office lights would turn on. But then that's when I realized my shortcuts are all broken. So
I constantly am calling out to websites. Like this is of great concern to me.
Yeah.
Oh no.
What's happening?
Yeah. Somebody had their volume turned up. The noise canceling didn't help.
Oh, I love hearing myself talk.
Where's that coming from?
Can I jump in with a question?
Sure.
So I have an iPad Pro, and the reason I got it was because of the iOS 13 beta, which allowed you to transfer stuff to an external hard drive. But in my Files app, when I go to how is it? This may be a stupid question. If I go to recently deleted, it's got these 18 files in there. And you can just keep selecting them and deleting them over and over and over. And they don't go anywhere. They stay there. And they've been there for a very long time. I don't know if that's a dumb question or not. I'm not a heavy duty Mac user, but I do like my iPad Pro, and I don't know if this is just a beta thing or if it's normal.
You're on iPad. What OS are you on, Thomas?
I'm on here. I'll pull up the exact version. It's 13.6 public beta 2, and it's preparing to upgrade to. Says it's preparing to upgrade to something else to 13.6, it says.
I do not know.
Yeah. I haven't heard of that one.
I would try uninstalling and reinstalling the Files app on your iPad.
Okay, I can try that.
Jeff, this is not being a smart question. If he uninstalls, that's right. If he uninstalls the Files app, it doesn't take the files with it.
Right.
But it might cloud.
Yeah, that's right. But it might trigger something that is not working right now.
I think the Files app has its own separate database of accessible files on each device. So you delete the app and reinstall it, and it has to rebuild that database, which may fix the problem with files that you think you've deleted continuing to show up.
Okay. All right. I will definitely try that. Thank you.
What's the worst that could happen? But back up your iPad first.
Yeah. I'm not too concerned about it.
That wraps up part 2 of our 3-part discussion of the WWDC keynote, and we will have part 3 coming up in the next edition of MacVoices. Please check that out. Until the next time, and as always, thanks for watching. Visit MacVoices.com for show notes and to connect with Chuck on social media. Get involved in our Facebook group or like our Facebook page, and get more out of your Apple tech with MacVoices Magazine, free on Flipboard and on the web. And if you find value in it all, consider supporting us through either our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/MacVoices or by making a one-time donation via the PayPal link on our front page and in the show notes of each episode. You will join these fine people who help bring you MacVoices. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media at backbeatmedia.com. Bandwidth provided by CacheFly at cachefly.com.